You had a good list in September.
I did do well in September, but I will say that my October is going to be pathetic. So enjoy September while we discuss it.
Okay. Well, our official welcome back to the BookEnds YouTube channel. Today we are doing our September reads. We're a little behind on this, but it's okay.
They don't watch them in order anyway. You don't watch them in order, do you?
That's true. Yeah, so I read 3 books last month, and I think you read...
I got in 4.
Yeah, you beat me. Oh, you read Miracle Creek too? Oh, man, you have a good stack over there.
I do.
Why don't you go first since you have more?
Is it just me, but does September feel like 6 months ago?
It does, and that's why I said it. We're a little behind. Then I wait, no, it was only a couple
I know, and you just said Miracle Creek, and my first thought was, what was that book about again? But I remember.
I loved that book.
So you're right. I had a really excellent September. So since we talked Miracle Creek, I'll start with that. It's just, I think I bought this earlier this year, and it was sitting on my shelf. And I finally grabbed it. What a crazy ride this book is.
Right?
Yeah, it's full of, it's essentially a courtroom drama, which is so funny because I represent Kia Abdullah, of course, who does courtroom dramas. And yet I feel like if somebody said courtroom drama to me, you'd have to convince me to read it, and I need to change my attitude.
It's funny because when this book first came out, it was a Book of the Month Club pick. And you and I were in the office, and I was reading them, and I was like, I don't know about that. You're like, yeah, I don't know about that one either. And then an editor said, I fell in love with it, and I told you had to read it. And look, here we are.
Well, here's the deal. I will never pitch a book as a courtroom drama because I think courtroom drama sounds boring, but it's really about the people and the story and the mystery. So what I would say to those of you pitching books, maybe don't use courtroom drama because it sounds very flat. And courtroom dramas tend to not fully take place in the courtroom because they're telling the story and the writer does the live action of the actual story. Anyway, I have completely gone off track here. No surprise. Anyway, this is basically about a submarine that was turned into a treatment center. And I'm not going to go too much into it because I don't know how. And it explodes and people die. And now through the book, we're hearing what happened and the dynamics between these people and, you know, what's happening in court versus potentially what really happened.
Yeah.
And I mean, the characters are so well drawn, and it's such a beautifully sad, heartbreaking, but wonderful story. And it really does keep you guessing, I think, till the end.
So I'm usually pretty good, and I can guess and suss things out from early on. And I had a feeling what was going to happen in this one. I'm like, no, this is totally wrong. And I had like 30 other feelings. And then at the end of the book, I was still surprised. And that's always a check mark for what makes a great book.
I think too, like when it comes to a mystery and the surprise and the whodunit, you're not always surprised by who did it. You're surprised by the twists and turns and the why and how you got there.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to note. It's not always like the big, like, aha, I never saw that coming because it's impossible that could have come. It's more that I thought that, but then I didn't think it, but then I thought it, but then I didn't think it. And who knew?
The journey.
The journey. You're right.
I'm glad you read that one. I loved it. So I read one of your favorite authors, Fredrik Blocking.
I have not read that yet.
I'm bringing it for you when I come into the office next.
Thank you.
I never read Fredrik Blocking before, but this one had me laughing out loud. Like, it was actually funny.
Oh, I could use that.
Yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. It's about a hostage situation, and it bounces back and forth with the cop and there's 2 detectives, their father and son, and they're like rocky relationship, and they're interviewing and trying to figure out who the bank robber is because the bank robber just disappeared. But it's like back and forth with interrogation transcripts and narration. It's just funny, and when it's great
funny
ride.
It's funny that it's funny.
Yeah,
because 2 of my favorite books are Fredrik Bachman's, and it's Beartown and Us Versus Them. And I do not think of those books as even remotely funny. So that's really interesting. I'm excited to read this because it sounds different from what I've read of him.
Yeah, and that's not what I expected going in because of what you said about Beartown, but it honestly, it had me laughing out loud in some spots. But it's like he has really great lines, like he's very quotable.
He is so quotable. Like you will read a line twice just to read the line.
I took a pic. I mean, it's called Anxious People, so there's a lot about anxiety. I took a picture and sent it to one of my friends. I'm like, wow, like that made a lot of sense. He's it's like very wise and quotable.
And his style of writing is so, I can't stop. I just love him.
Well, I'll bring that for you, and hopefully you will read that in one of our next few months videos.
So, I'm going to talk about this because this is really different for me because it's YA.
Oh, I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, I think the thing is it's, I guess, one of those YA that's a real crossover, which, I say that with my teeth clenched because I don't want to encourage authors to pitch books as crossover. This was still sold as YA.
Right.
But it's set in, I think, California, and this perfect Mexican daughter was not the perfect Mexican daughter. Her sister was, and her sister is killed. And it opens up with this grieving family, but also this daughter who is not the perfect one, trying to find her place. And then it becomes a bit of a mystery because, she's trying to reconnect with the sister she lost. And in spending time in her sister's bedroom, discovers some things that really makes her question whether her sister was the perfect Mexican daughter and who her sister really was. And there's this life of her sisters that she knew nothing about. And so she goes on sort of this exploration of who is my sister, and at the same time, who am I, and who is my family, and things like that. It's an immigrant story. Her parents immigrated here from Mexico. I believe the parents are undocumented. So it really touches on a lot of things that are happening in this country today, but it's a great story. And I would definitely say it's crossover. It is a National Book Award finalist, but not my usual fare just because I tend not to read YA, but I really like this one.
Okay, well, please add that to my list. That is just growing and growing.
Put it in the file.
Yeah. This one was a recommendation from you, and I think it's actually your copy. So this was it was a hell of a ride. It's fast-paced. It kept me going. The character is so likable. It's about a girl who returns home after her father's motorcycle death, and she sort of gets looped into this investigation of a murder. And that
She's
murder,
like an FBI agent or something.
An FBI agent.
Yeah.
And that murder sort of starts to shed light on her own mother's murder, and opens up. I love stories that have two cases going at the same time, and you kind of racing to the conclusion of both. But when I say racing, I mean racing, because this one is fast-paced, gets you there quick. I couldn't put it down. And I definitely am looking forward to reading The Banker's Wife, because I know you said you loved that one.
I loved it even more. And they're such different books, which is great. She doesn't have a formula, and she's not writing the same thing. So I'll be excited for you to read The Banker's Wife too.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that one. This one I really like, though, so thank you for lending me your copy.
Of course. I'm going to go with Julia Alvarez, Afterlife.
Oh.
I've never read her. And, for obvious, I really wanted to read her. I really like this. It's, it's a little book.
Yeah, it's tiny.
It is, which was great because I was like, I just need something quick and short. And this was it. It's a woman who lost her husband. But it's not really a story of grief. It's a story of finding your afterlife. Once, she'd spent obviously a lifetime with her husband. They had plans. He died unexpectedly. And after that, what is her life going to be like? It's also a sister story. It's really more of a sister story than it is about her husband. And it's about the woman and her three sisters. Yeah, her three sisters. There's four of them. and their relationships, and also finding herself and who she is almost through these relationships with her sister, because I think we all in our families have these defined roles that we often didn't ask for, but we take on. And for her, it's finding what her defined role really is or what she wants it to be. It's a great book.
Yeah, it sounds really
good. She's a great writer.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about her writing.
Yep.
So the last one I read last month was When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole.
I want to read that too.
Okay, I will bring this one in too. Well, you might know Alyssa Cole because she is an award-winning romance author, and I believe this is her very first thriller.
It is.
It's set in gentrifying Brooklyn, and the main character, Sydney, is starting up a historical tour of her neighborhood to focus on the Black history that is in the neighborhood that's being gentrified right now. And then
it contemporary?
It's contemporary, yeah. The voice sucks you in from like the get-go. She is such the character Sydney is such like a relatable and accessible character to just dive right in with. And it's dual point of view, which I love. And it kind of kept you going until the end. It races there for sure. It's a thriller. So basically all this stuff starts to happen and people in the neighborhood start going missing. And what I loved about it is it used an app as its like sort of driving force. Like everybody's using this neighborhood app and you can tell rising. No, it was so good. I'm really looking forward to, hopefully she has more thrillers coming because I'm not a romance reader, but I love this one and I would like to, see more.
It's funny that they're using the neighborhood app because I had tweeted not long ago that I would love to see a modernized rear window using basically like the security cameras that almost everybody has on their house.
A ring doorbell.
Yeah, well, there is an app that's the neighborhood app where people like post up stuff on their Ring doorbells, which I assume this is what this is. So
yeah, it's sort of similar to that. And then it's just, it's so powerful and eye-opening about gentrification and just sort of the struggles that come along with it. I definitely recommend reading it. For the thriller elements, but even just for that, like learning more about the way gentrification affects a neighborhood.
Right. Well, good. On my list.
Yeah.
So the last one I read was The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, and you and we are all pretty much at BookEnds fans of Taylor Jenkins Reid.
Yeah.
And you and I both first read her with Daisy Jones and the Six.
Yes, I love that book.
That was before we were doing our YouTube.
Yeah, it was last summer.
Yeah. I think I loved this more.
I know. I knew you were going to.
Did you read this?
I did. I read that one.
This is I think this is Kim's copy. No, this is Jessica's copy that she loaned to Kim that was loaned to me.
She loaned it to me too.
That's why this book is a little battered.
Yeah.
But you can tell that we're all book people because the spine is hardly broken.
Not broken.
Yeah, and it's funny because this is another one of those books that, I think most of her books, to be honest, if pitched to me, I would struggle to get excited about. So Evelyn Hugo all of her books are set sort of in the 70s-ish.
Yeah.
And Evelyn Hugo is a famous actress. I would say that she might be sort of a little like Liz
Taylor.
Yes, thank you. Elizabeth Taylor. Like, I think she's sort of maybe created a little bit on the likeness of Elizabeth Taylor because she has 7 husbands. I think Taylor said that was her inspiration for the character. Don't quote me. Well, it really does come through as that's a possibility. But the story is that she has decided to tell her story, her real story, to a journalist to write her memoir. And from the get-go, you know that there's a reason she's chosen this journalist, but you don't know why. And so there is a bit of a what's really going on here. Yeah. She really talks about just being a woman in Hollywood. And I think she went to Hollywood in like the 50s. So being a woman in Hollywood during that time and being a woman, Evelyn Hugo, who was willing to do whatever it took to achieve success. And that included some of her husbands.
Yeah.
But she's just such a great writer and
Incredible.
creates these characters and these situations, these sort of fictional oral histories that are, amazing. And I truly fell in love with Evelyn Hugo, for all of her faults. She's cool.
Yeah, I thought you would like this one better than Daisy Jones, and I'm really looking forward. She's got another one coming out. I don't know exactly what it's about, but I am eager to read it, whatever it's about.
She's on the BookEnds list. We're getting a lot of those authors, unfortunately, who are on the must-read list. I don't know if we're going to have time for any new people.
I know, yeah.
Kidding.
It's tough keeping up with our to-be-read lists. But
It is. And I'm going to be honest, I'm falling behind in October, so I'm hoping
I will have one very good book having been read by the time October is over. I can promise that.
I'm slogging through really just because of life and the world, but I'll have something.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Let us know what you read in September, what you're hoping to read in October and November. We can always use a good recommendation, especially this right now. But yeah, so I will be bringing some of these into you, and don't forget to like and subscribe.
We will see you soon. Thanks.